The fateful collision had been simmering beneath the surface ever since Meghan Markle's divisive arrival on the Canadian entertainment scene began seizing unanticipated spotlights. Though Lady Gaga had made a brand from meteoric highs and cataclysmic crashes across music's grandest stages over her decade-spanning career, few expected the night's hostilities to spontaneously erupt in such a jaw-dropping backstage fracas at the 2024 Juno Awards. But once their respective orbits converged at one of the ceremony's greenroom buffet lines, the long-standing tensions and subterranean resentments roiling between the glamorous archrivals crested into an explosion of unfiltered fury. Oh, and if it isn't Princess Resentment herself putting any and everything on hold to intrude her garish self-promotion into my peripheral yet again, Gaga sneered upon catching Meghan angling for photographers' attention nearby. One would think Canada's own golden girl of schadenfreude would have heeded multiple shunnings by now and learned some shame. The contemptuous barb instantly detonated a Cold War that had been flickering beneath the surface ever since the disgraced Duchess suddenly relocated her embarrassing pseudo-celebrity across North America. While Meghan initially dismissed the irreverent pop supernova as a deranged exhibitionist destined for cancel culture immolation, Lady Gaga left little ambiguity about the former royal being viewed as a tacky culture vulture leeching off marginalized identities. You truly have some intergalactic nerve presuming to occupy rarefied space among culture icons of substantive struggle and sacrifice when your entire impetus for fame stems from inherited privilege, then Bad Romance, iconoclast shot back without hesitation. For someone who'd worked the Times Square hustle since her arduous Stefani Germanata days to accrue worldwide prominence through sheer swagger and authenticity, nothing triggered Gaga's fury quite like establishment leeches attempting to piggyback onto brave truth-tellers' brand identities. And that's precisely how Meghan Markle's exiled ethnic cosplay stuck in her vindicated craw, having joined the chorus of call-out over Harry's wife being a calculating culture vulture after witnessing the naked careerist's tactics up close. So after obliterating several thousand calories worth of craft services while lecherously regaling staffers from the corners of her mouth how she planned on reducing the beige drama heroine to a sniveling footnote, Gaga opted to deliver the kill shot. Not even waiting for the flashbulbs engulfing Markle's ersatz meet and greet to power down, she sashayed straight into the unsuspecting Duchess's orbit with a palm already thrust forward and ready to usher out her despised quarry through any conceivable act of physical diminishment. This ends right now, you thirsty embarrassment to the entire mode of human emancipation you soulless capitalize upon. Lady Gaga hissed directly into Meghan's stricken face while doubling as her own self-deputized bouncer. Before the stunned Duchess could even begin sculpting a flustered response or indignant protestation of rank over such crass disrespect, Mother Monster's stiletto heel met the bridge of her sandal, causing Markle to stumble backwards while clutching her sore abdomen from the unyielding love pats. All right. That's more than enough petulant posturing from you tonight. Now it's time to make like your very namesake and exit the premises without further disgrace, Gaga goaded while forcibly shepherding the recipient of her bad romance towards the exit tunnels. But not before letting the entire nation indulge in the humbling schadenfreude of dissecting its chronically put-upon victim absconding from an actual space she not only didn't merit squatting within, but whose very ideals are incompatible with your concept of suffering entitlement. As the world watched transfixed and photographers erupted in a strobe frenzy capturing the choreographed heel lead whirlwind brutally excising Meghan from the grounds, Lady Gaga leaned in to deliver one last scalding brush of truth against her nemesis' stinging cheekbones while still cradling fistfuls of that ratty weave. Don't ever delude yourself that this was simply an impromptu peak of jealousy or any petty ego squabble between artistes over chart dominance or streaming metrics retention, you rancid guttersnipe, she hissed with all the seething contempt earned over a lifetime of hunger being drip-fed into the same malignant apparatus Meghan conveniently idealized for social climbing ends. No, this call-out to leave in disgrace represents the entirety of ethical art's soul rising up to forcefully quarantine a parasitic virus gnawing away at its revolutionary core. With that final indignity reverberating against the Duchess's Rosetta Stone visage, the self-styled voice for the culturally downtrodden had her pass permanently revoked to polite society's velvet ropes in seismic fashion. While Meghan retreated into the safe harbor of looped excuses about racial aggrievement to contextualize Lady Gaga's violent display as some unspecified bias, the scorned icon herself minced no words in the debrief with musical press. I struck preemptively tonight to serve as an example and deterrence against commercial parasites of the Sussex's ilk targeting and appropriating identity-based movements for their milquetoast acquisition agendas, the inimitable superstar explained with no-holds-barred candor. The very foundation of every civil emancipation throughout history was kindled by those willing to sacrifice their very existences to being crushed under the boot of systemic oppression without compromise or performance. So when you have next-generation thought leaders doing the actual heavy lifting against institutional prejudice, the last souls our struggle needs or wants beside us are pretenders seeking to hijack symbolic capital for a gripless influencer bag. If Gaga's parting words over the Juno's debacle carried any intended overture for allyship against cravenly attempted identity borrowing, however, it fell upon predictably deaf ears. Within hours of nursing her ego at an undisclosed wellness retreat, Meghan Markle's sprawling celebrity industrial complex lashed back with a scorched earth counter-narrative of racist belittling riddled with coded digs over body dysmorphia and white fragility allegories. It was undoubtedly an incredibly wounding hate crime spotlighting the ongoing traumas of colorism, her spokesperson thundered in a statement unleashed upon every national wire. One perpetrated by a deranged, dysphoric white female artist who felt compelled to brutalize a woman of Meghan's caliber after having her anti-bigotry credibility proactively revoked from policing our acts of diversity leadership. And all because the Duchess represented more intersectional strength than her unseasoned talents as a controversy profiteer could ever muster. Here's what happened after Lady Gaga's explosive confrontation with Meghan Markle at the Juno Awards, including the consequences she faced. While Meghan Markle wasted no time milking her latest persecution complex for monetization through branded trauma interviews and victim merchandise collabs, the reckoning facing Lady Gaga over her renegade Juno stunt proved far more severe. Almost immediately, the precedent-setting backlash threatened to dismantle the very industry architecture she'd once gleefully delighted in trolling. The first severe repercussions came from the ceremony's organizers themselves, who swiftly condemned Gaga's unacceptable and arguably criminal behavior, vowing to exclude her from all future Juno-related programming in perpetuity. This blacklisting kicked off a domino effect that soon saw the defiant pop iconoclast expelled from the Canadian Recording Academy's entire membership on grounds of egregious conduct violations. Lady Gaga's actions represented an appalling abuse of her industry stature to willfully harass, batter and attempt to unlawfully remove a fellow professional from our prestigious event without provocation, Caraz's president solemnly addressed a press room of scandalized journalists. While we encourage our members to voice dissent over forks in the cultural roads through proper channels, the unwarranted physical aggression and bullying she enacted falls drastically outside ethical norms. But the bureaucratic exiling of Mother Monster from a minor international ceremony's halls of belonging proved just the opening salvo in her cancellation rights playing out across every level of the pop cultural hierarchy. With Meghan Markle's intersectional victimhood swiftly being subsumed into heroic allegory for racial solidarity against all grievances, a veritable tsunami of public condemnation swamped Gaga's already polarizing brand. Beyond being unceremoniously dumped from a Las Vegas residency deal reportedly worth over $500 million after casino partners cited the toxic optics, streaming services ranging from Spotify to Apple swiftly scrubbed her discography from all mainstream availability. Record labels followed by freezing promotional pipeline and severing all contractual obligations, effectively rendering Lady Gaga an unliftable entertainment pariah overnight. The precedent of encouraging psychological and physical violence against black women to maintain some gatekeeping leverage is simply beyond the pale, no matter how much whataboutism Gaga's defenders attempt injecting into these disturbing events, decreed one prominent pop culture think piece in symmetry with the verdict stacking against the ostracized provocateur. Though Mother Monster mounted her own strident counteroffensive alleging all charges were wildly disproportionate overreactions to unmask the perception management industry's actual bigotry against free speech, the damage was irreparable. Hacktivists groups soon piled on by leaking personal data and financial records suggesting Lady Gaga had been covertly funded through conservative dark money channels intent on rehabilitating her into an establishment stooge meant to punish uppity diversity gatecrasher. Crippling fines, restraining orders and potential incarcerations soon stalked every step she took towards rehabilitating career prospects on her own defiant terms.